What scene in a movie really pissed you off? In one of the G.I. Joe films there is an explosion underwater and the ice at the top falls down and starts landing on the underwater base. Ice floats. Any scene in the Terminator films where the Terminator shoots a gun and misses. You're telling me Skynet can build intelligent machines and they figured out time travel, yet they can't be programmed to aim straight. The first race in the first Cars movie. Chick Hicks is just causing crashes left and right. He puts every single car out of commission except for himself, Strip Weathers, and Lightning McQueen. And nobody says a goddamn thing. Everything is peachy keen until the very end, when he almost kills Strip. And then fine then when Lightning is pushing Strip across the finish line, right after Chick bumped him and nearly killed him. The announcers have the fine gall to say, is pushing on the last lap legal? Seriously. This car almost killed another car going 200 miles per hour, and they're worried about another car helping the aforementioned car finish the race. And then they hand the goddamn piston cup to the car that has been systematically murdering other cars all season. Not a specific movie, but I hate it when a character is trying to be sneaky, but they are also having a conversation with someone that the person they are hiding from could easily hear. Example, in Back to the Future 2nd, when Marty is hiding in the back of Biff's car whilst shouting at Doc Brown into a walkie-talkie. John Wick, when Viggo knocks John out but then ties him up instead of just killing him. I know that the bad guy not taking the opportunity to kill the hero is a common thing, but killing John is literally Viggo's only goal. John has nothing that Viggo needs, and Viggo himself delivered a huge speech about what an unstoppable badass John is. If anybody should have taken the opportunity to kill John while he was defenseless, it's Viggo. Any scene in Harry Potter that could be completely and easily solved with magic they've already demonstrated in the previous films. It's like they forget every spell they've ever learned except the one the story wants them to use. My fiancé hasn't forgiven Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker for them making it seem like Chewbacca had died in the aircraft explosion, and then he's seen alive less than 2 minutes later. Edit. Thank you for the awards, kind redditors, including my first Reddit gold. This is now one of the highlights of mine and my fiancé's relationship. Harry Potter breaking the Elder Wand and tossing away the pieces, implying that he's going to keep using Draco Malfoy's old wand indefinitely. Bitch no. He used the Elder Wand to mend his trusty Phoenix Feather Wand, intended to have the wand reburied with Dumbledore, and aimed to end the wand's chain of power upon his own death. Whenever a character runs from danger and falls, like it is first time in their life they've ran. Whenever a character has a heated argument with their girlfriend/boyfriend and all that could be avoided if either of them let other explain the situation or misunderstandment. I know this is silly, but the scene or scenes in Face Off where they do the face stroking thing. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it just makes me cringe. Willy Wonka, Grandpa Joe getting out of bed and do the silly dance because Charlie found a golden ticket. Grandpa Joe claimed the floor was cold earlier on in the movie. When in the Breakfast Club, they spend a whole movie realizing that, even though they are all part of different cliques, they are actually more alike than different, except for the goth girl. She's still too weird, so they have to make her pretty like Molly Ringwald in order to be accepted. Near the end of The Wedding Singer, when that douchebag Glenn thinks it's so nice of himself to agree to let Julia lean over him when they fly over the Vegas Strip. That little smirk he does makes me want to punch the TV. In The Chronicles of Narnia, when they return to the real world and become children again. This frustrated me so much when I was a kid, like they just lost over a decade of their lives where they were happy, but now have to abandon their kingdom and subjects to become kids living in Britain during the Second World War. That's like the first Harry Potter ending with Harry waking up in the cupboard again with no time having passed and no apparent prospect of returning to the wizarding world. And the sequel makes it even worse, since we see how much Narnia suffered because of the disappearance of their kings and queens. Again with the Harry Potter analogy, it's like Harry if returning to the wizarding world and finding out that Voldemort took over because of his absence. Here is the scene for those who have trouble remembering it. The one where Pietro, Quicksilver, dies while saving Clint, Hawkeye. The movie made a great job at making me believe he is absolutely fast enough to get them all to safety. Also, all the missed opportunities, if he had lived. See Osp's trope talk on plot twists for more. The scene in the I'm 50 Shades of Grey movie, where he goes to Home Depot and buys a bunch of bondage gear and includes zip ties among that list. So if you're not into BDSM, let me just tell you something. You should never ever use zip ties for SUAL bondage. They cannot be loosened. They only get tighter the more you struggle, and they are thick and sharp enough to break the skin. Using zip ties is extremely dangerous and can cause serious injury or death. They have to be cut off, which can cause even more damage. And this movie acts like it's totally okay to tell millions of non-BDSM wine moms and teenage girls that this is okay. I could literally write a fucking book on all the horrible things 50 Shades gets wrong about BDSM. But that one boils my effing blood. From the Green Mile, when that cunty little weasel of a guard, Percy, doesn't wet the sponge for an execution, which results in painfully frying the guy in the chair alive. And then he has the audacity to say that he didn't know it needed to be wet. The end of Titanic, when Rose dies, she goes into the afterlife to be with some dude she had a fling with 80 years ago. What about her husband? People she spent a lifetime with? Maybe a child that died before her? I'm making some assumptions, but you get my point. In Return of the King, Sam gives Frodo his water after Frodo runs out and says there's only a few drops left. Frodo then forgets how to drink and spills the last drops of water all over the place. James Bond, Casino Royale, construction site chase. Front-end loaders don't have bulletproof glass. Crane controls don't lock into position. And the worst error, the scissor lift. Bond whacks an electrical control box that lets out a hiss of air that causes the hydraulic cylinders to retract. Scissor lifts can't move that fast and don't run on air pressure. Independence Day, where they bring down the alien defense shield with a computer virus. I'm a security engineer. It ruins the whole movie. Oh really? The Apple PowerBook is compatible with the alien network. What language was the virus programmed in? How did he find the vulnerability? How the F did he even understand the alien computer tech in an afternoon when the scientists reverse engineering it for decades did not? What did he upload it with / how did he interface with the ship? I have dozens more of these questions. Sounds stupid, but mine is when Carrie forgives Big in the S and the City movie and they get married. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of the show, but I hated the overall message it ended with, which was, no matter how many times someone breaks your heart, humiliates you, makes you feel unworthy, and generally head FKS you, marry them anyway, because it's better than being single at your age. Maybe I'm a little cynical, and I got it wrong. Towards the end of Speed, when Sandra Bullock's character is told to stay put for a minute, I knew in my heart that, after being a total step to the plate badass for the entire movie, that they were going to have her do something stupid and banal. Sure enough, she steps out into the open, gets snapped, and then gets put into a damsel in distress situation for Keanu to save.